Welcome to the Addicted to Success podcast. I'm here today with the 14-year-old, nearly 15-year-old, absolute amazing speaker, coach, author, and all-around amazing human being, Caleb Maddox. Caleb, welcome to the Addicted to Success podcast, brother.
This is awesome. I mean, I've watched the Addicted to Success podcast like for hours on road trips before, so I absolutely love it and glad to be on.
Love it, mate. Love it. Look, we just got off the stage together last night, and I loved the speech that you delivered. You took away a few things from mine. Let's talk about the energy in the room and how do you bring the energy to audiences and to your followers? Like, what is the key thing? Because when you step up in front of the camera and when you're on stage, you're just lit. What do you think that is?
I think it's somewhat natural, because I'm obviously like a performer. Like, that's kind of like I love capturing the stage and learning, and I've studied a bunch of different speakers. But I think it comes back to really two things. It's really just enthusiasm and certainty. So I'm just extremely enthusiastic. Whenever I step up on stage, I know that if I'm kind of quiet and like this, like I'm not going to control the crowd as well, and I'm not going to feel as well to present. Yeah. But if I'm very enthusiastic and I'm like, yeah, let's do this, like it's going to be way better. And certainty, like I understand, even though I'm 14, like I have something to say. There's a reason I'm up on that stage, and I'm not going to act like I'm, just less than everyone because of my age. Like I'm going to present even if people in the audience are thinking this kid's only 14. So I think it comes back to enthusiasm and certainty.
Awesome, brother. One thing that I really loved that you shared last night on stage was that when you were younger, your dad would pay you to read books. How did that work?
So, one day I actually went over to a friend's house like every kid does, right? I was like 8 years old at the time, 7 or 8 years old. And I remember my friend's mom walks up and hands him a $20 bill and says, "Here's your month's allowance." And I was like, so what's an allowance? Like, because I love money. Like, ever since I was younger, I was always trying to sell stuff. Like, I would draw on erasers and sell them in school. I did crazy stuff. And so I asked him this, like, how'd you get that? He said, well, I did chores for the last month, and I got an allowance. Yeah. So what's the first thing I do whenever my dad picked me up? I said, Dad, I want to do chores, and I want to get an allowance. And he thought about it for a second because, obviously, it's a known thing, like chores and all that stuff. And he said, you know what, no. I'm not going to pay you to do chores. He says, that's just what we're going to do as a family. I don't want you to think that you should get rewarded for taking out the trash or for doing the dishes or for any of that stuff. And he said, so what I will do, though, is I'll pay you $20 for every single book that you read and write up a little report on. And he told me this. And I remember like, man, this is amazing. So what he had me do is he said, Caleb, listen, you're going to get paid for what you read whenever you're older anyways. And I just started reading. I was writing reports, and I was like just reading because I knew that it would give me money. And even long term, it's got me money. It's what's helped me make hundreds of thousands of dollars as a 14-year-old is the knowledge that I've obtained from these books. Because the key to success, KEY, is to keep educating yourself.
Yes. Wow. We share that as a common interest, man. With Addicted to Success, it's always about learning and applying and expanding, right? So what do you feel it really is that at the end of the day, you have a lot of people that read these books. What does it take for them to take the action, to build the business, to go out and raise money for charities, to get up on stage and speak? What is it that they can start really dialing into in their life to be able to get to that next level, to actually be somebody of service in this world?
I mean, I've gotten that question pretty often, and it's a really difficult one to answer because it's kind of like asking, like, how do you like breathe and then breathe? Like, it's because action, you just take action, like you just do it, right? Yeah. So you read a book and it says a principle. You literally sit down and say, how can I implement this? Like, what I do is every single thing that I go, ooh, like in a book, I immediately say, okay, how can I implement this? Because that ooh isn't going to do anything for me.
You got to do the ooh.
Yeah, you got to do the ooh, right? Oh, I like that. That's good. But I think it's just a matter of taking action and, getting out there and implementing it, setting it up in your life. When are you going to do this? How can this be applied to your life? Thinking about it, putting it in, and really just doing it.
Yeah, I love that, mate. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. What do you feel is some great advice that you could share with any young entrepreneurs that may be a little bit stuck? Maybe they have that thing of like, I'm not old enough yet. I'm not quite there, because I'm sure you've had that, right?
Oh yeah.
And this is the thing too. If you're listening right now, if you haven't had a chance to meet Caleb, when you talk with him, you don't feel like he's a 14-year-old. Like, honestly, man, you have like an old soul. You're very wise for your age. You're very mature. You're very emotionally intelligent. You're very open-minded, which I feel like I'm just trying to think of what I was doing when I was 14. I think I was playing basketball, rapping, and trying to chase girls in the schoolyard. Like that was that was
he
my
was the
thing.
rapper, Joe Brown the rapper. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I tried to rap anyway. So what is it, man? What advice would you have for anyone that's young that like is really inspired to do, I guess, to get up into a space that you're in and to build a business? I mean, it's not easy to build a business for anybody, no matter what age you're at. Like, what advice would you share for somebody that's young, that's hungry to make something of themselves?
I mean, I think, we could do an entire interview on just this subject alone, and me and you could go back and forth. But,
yes.
I'll simplify the answer for you because, there's really three things that I sat down one day and I was wondering, I'm telling all these keys to success, but what was the three keys to my success? And I figured out there was three things, and these are three things that I would tell every single young entrepreneur to do. Number one is learn. Number two is earn. And number three is return. Like, those are the three things right there. And whenever I say learn, that means, listen, that's like Warren Buffett. He reads like 4 to 6 hours a day, and I've watched all of his interviews on it, and it's crazy. But he literally attributes his entire success to that, and he's worth $64 billion, right? So there's something that follows learning, the lessons that you learn, and it's so important for young entrepreneurs because a lot of times we'll end up being 80 years old and living something that if we just would have read one book our entire life, we just wouldn't have taken that action. Our life would be way better and way different, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And we learn from experience, but it doesn't have to be our own. It can be the experience of other people. So learning is huge. Start reading, start watching stuff, start watching Joel Brown, start watching all these guys, learn from them. Number two would be earn. They say the average millionaire was making money before the age of 12 years old. They were doing something. And I've always been trying to make money. I've always been trying to do it. I used to pay this kid in my class who was the best artist, and he could draw really good pictures of people. And I'll have him draw pictures of kids in my class, and I would go sell it to him for $20. I would give him $5, and I would take $15. Right? So I've always been trying to do that. So I would recommend get out there and earn it. If you don't know what to do, do something. Start selling something. You don't have. I don't have a product, Caleb. You have a product. You can sell anything. How can you provide value and do that? And number three is return. Give back. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is I've been on over 53 missions trips, since I was about 8 years old. And I literally attribute my entire success to that right there. Yeah. It's when nothing's going good, do something good for somebody else. The key, it's like Tony Robbins, the key to living is giving, right? And you have to give. You have to give back. Make money, cool. You're going to be unhappy. But if you can give that money away, it's way better. I've made $10,000 sales on the phone, but it's way better to give away a $100 bill to a single mother and give back to a fatherless kid or something of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, mate. And the thing is, well, when you give, you understand that you have some value to offer. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people live in that scarcity mindset of, I can't break off a piece of the pie because I need this for myself. But when you realize that it's a practice, abundance is practice. You have to give money away and be in the confidence that you're going to make more of it. Mm-hmm. And you can also build your business to a higher level. I practice it. Sometimes it gets a little bit uncomfortable. I do two things. I give money away more than I think I probably should give. It's okay, I'll give away 1,000 for this, right? The initial thought is 1,000, but I'll go, you know what? I'm going to give away 1,500.
Ooh,
and sometimes it's around tax time, or it's when a number of bills are coming out. We've just made an investment or brought somebody onto the business, and I'm it's a little bit uncomfortable, right? Mm-hmm. But I have faith that I'm going to make even more because that becomes then my driver to make more. And so that's why I can continue to serve, is because I practice that. And I think the other thing too is that at the end of the day, we don't take the money with us. And so it's what you do with it. And, Grant Cardone is a good friend of yours, a good friend of mine. And he said on one of the interviews that I did with him recently, he's like, man, money is my slave. He talks he's like, money's my slave. I get money to work for me. He's like, money's not meant to be saved. He's like, it's your slave. You got to put it to work. And he's like,
that's
when I run out and it doesn't work.
Yeah. I like it.
When it ain't working, you got it. Yeah, he's like that. But yeah, he's like, just put it to work and let it build your business for you. And he's like, sometimes it's not going to work. You just get some more slaves.
And that's what I love about that. That's one thing that I like about you, though, is, how much you are giving. I see even the Pencils of Promise stuff and, all the work you're doing. And I literally have more respect for you than a billionaire who doesn't give, 110%. Because that's what it's really about. I mean, you're going to leave, and your impact's more important than your income, plain and simple. Yes. And I heard an interesting theory of someone said, your net worth is how much you've given, not how much you've earned, right?
Wow,
yeah, so it's I'm worth $1 million. Okay, how much have you given? I've given away $1,000. So you're worth $1,000. Like that's your worth. So.
I was talking to Javon Langford, who was speaking at the event with us too, and he said that he heard somebody recently was like promoting something, saying that like, oh, I made this much. It was like $100,000, but really they didn't make it. They saved it on something because they got certain deals, but they portrayed it as if they made it. And so in our industry, we have a lot of fakes and phonies that can come about in every industry, not just like the self-development space. But what do you kind of see that goes on in the space that you're very conscious of, and you make sure that you're not running that route? And you don't have to name any names, but I know, with your young eyes, what have you picked up on where you're like, you know what, I see that happening, but I'm going to do it better? Because I feel like every generation that goes by can learn and can improve, and we can just keep tweaking and refining in the industry. What do you feel that you could really do to really build this industry up to an even better level that it's not at the moment?
I mean, I see a lot of, as far as our industry, with the speaking and motivation and stuff, I think there's a lot of fluffers, like plain and simple. 100%. Like literally, I will watch someone speak and they'll literally come up to me afterwards and say, was that okay? And I'm like, hold up, wait a second. You're going to go speak and try to impact people, then you're going to come ask me, like, were they impressed by it? Was they good? That's not the mindset you need to have, right? It's all about the impact that you're making. Yeah. That's especially what I respect about you. You really are in it for the impact. And I think what I'm personally trying to do is just bring the realness. And I think, seeing it from a 14-year-old is also maybe different for a lot of adults, and even younger people in this movement, because it makes them realize, like, man, like, I gotta like think that way. Like even the kind of the I need to have the child's mindset, right, type of thing. So I think there's that, and then also I think there's a lot of successful, unsuccessful people, like 100%. Like I've met people that I know is worth $100 million who I share the stage with, and I'm like, they're one of the most unhappy people I've ever met, one of the most rude, unpositive people I've ever met. And I sit there and I think to myself, they've never spent time with their family, never done this and this, like. They're not really successful. Like, why do I look up to them, right? I'll learn from them in business. I'll learn from them in success. But as far as actual success, it comes down to 4 areas: physical, financial, relational, and spiritual.
Yes.
It's not financial. It's not physical. It's not relational. It's not spiritual. It's all of them together. And the people who have those 4, those are the ones who's truly successful. And that's really the message I'm trying to give, is showing that, hey, you can work your face off, and then also have time to be with your dad, and how I do that and do this stuff and giving back. So that's the number one thing that I'm trying to give to this movement, is kind of that freshness, that newness.
Yeah, that's it's music to my ears, man. And because you're starting at a young age, and if you're already setting that as the tone, this is going to inspire so many young people to start on a good foot. So I'm proud of you, brother. I really am.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you've talked a lot about giving, which is awesome, and it's exactly what everybody needs to hear. What are you most proud of? What are a few achievements that you've achieved? And I know it's hard for us to kind of share the achievements because there's so much about service. But what are a few things that and I say this because I want people to hear this and go, oh wow, that's possible. Mm-hmm. For the 14-year-old kids, or the 12 or 10 or even like 6 or 7-year-olds that may have an opportunity to listen to this, or anyone that's listening to this that wants to play this for their kids or the teenagers. What are some things you've been able to achieve, and I guess what is a few things you've actually learned along the way, so that they can grab it and then go and achieve that for themselves too?
Yeah. As far as accomplishments, I mean, I'll go back. I already said it, but I think the 53 mission trip is something that I feel really proud that I was able to go on. I think literally probably my biggest accomplishments in my book is every single person who's messaged me and said that their life is better, and has messaged me and said that they didn't commit suicide, or that they lost weight, or that they did this because of me. Like, that's what it comes down to. I've had days where I'm like, I do not feel like posting a video. Like, my friends right now are out fishing, they're out bowling, they're out playing sports, out doing this stuff. Like, I do not feel like working, but then I literally have screenshotted some of my messages that I've gotten, and I'll just go back through it and look at it. I saw that last
night. Your friend said something about hey, look what I just caught. Yeah, and he's stop working, and then you were making sales calls, right? Mm-hmm. You're about to give up, and then you were like, no, I'm going to hang in here. You did, and then you had a sale come through, and it was a great day. So yeah, that's it, man. It's a tenacity, right? It's like knowing that you have a vision that is going to pull you into something that's greater, because we have fun, and this is the thing. I see that you have fun. I remember talking with Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins said the day that you stop having fun is the day that you lose it all, right? You need to have fun in everything you're doing. And one of the things that I believe too is once you get to the place of, of getting your purpose down pat, you're like, okay, this is my purpose, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and you work at it every day, consistent, you can start designing your life in a way that serves you and that serves others. And what's cool that I see you doing is you get up, you joke on stage. You told the whole crowd last night, you're like, hey, so I'm going to talk about relationships. And
I got up and I'm like, today I'm going to be talking about how to have an amazing, long-lasting marriage. And everyone chuckles. And I kind of go into it and I'm like, guys, I'm just kidding. I'm not talking about it. Yeah.
I love it. I love that you can poke fun and like have a laugh about it.
I mean, that's what it's about, right? I mean, people are always like, you got to be intense. I agree. Be intense, but don't be tense.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like be intense. I have a goal. I have a mission. I can't, go out and do this and this. I have to make sacrifices. But while you're doing it, have fun. Like, people are like, aren't you missing out on your childhood? I'm like, no way. Like, I was in London. I was in Australia. I'm hanging out with the best people on the planet. I'm with Joel Brown. I got my best friend right there, my dad. Like, that's what it's about.
Yeah. That's right. Absolutely right. It's experiences, right? They're the things you remember. It's living in those moments and growing as a person too, so you can become more and give more. So you have a pretty big following on social media, man. I had a look and it's climbing at a very rapid pace.
Thank you.
I know why, but could you share with the listeners why you feel that you're able to garner such a huge following very quickly and also a lot of views on your videos?
I think it's really like three things: content, consistency, and connecting. Like that's what it really comes down to. Those are like the 3 C's right there. I obviously don't have as big of a following as you by any means. I mean, you're absolutely killing it. But how I've kind of gotten the following I have, it comes down to that. It's the content. My videos, they're pretty like the motivational videos I post. They're motivational. The ones for young entrepreneurs, they have like a lot of practical value. My interviews, I try to give as much value as possible. That's what I really mean by content. You'll never have $1 million income providing $100 value. So I really focus on providing value. I really focus on how can I change this person's life now? How can I look good? How can I do this? So I think it comes down to content. I mean, if you don't have if you want to be a health coach, but then you can't help people lose weight, you're not going to blow up on social media, plain and simple. So there's that. And then the consistency. I mean, I've literally been posting since I was 8 years old, and then like consistently for about 2 to 3 years, and it finally blew up about 1.5 years ago. So it finally started to work for me. So that's just the consistency right there. And you have to stay consistent. You know this more than anything. You've been, like, what? How many years have you been doing Addicted to Success?
Dude, nearly 6 years.
Like 6 years. That's just unbelievable, right? And there's the consistency, but it pays off. And the connecting. Literally the first 100 people who followed me, I messaged every single one of them and said, thank you so much for following me. This is whenever I was 8 years old, and, like, every single one of those people still follow me to this day.
Yeah.
And that just shows you
That's
connecting
important.
is what's powerful.
Yeah.
Them feeling like they have a relationship with you, that's what's powerful. It's not, oh, Caleb's amazing. It's like, oh, Caleb's my friend. Like, we have this. And that's the key to building a movement. So I would say it comes down to those 3 things.
Yeah, love that. I believe in that too. It's like the depth is more important, right, than the actual width itself.
Oh, yeah.
I think Gary Vaynerchuk says that. And, like, it's your tribe, man. At the end of the day, they're your customers, right? You look after them. Right. This is the thing that I tell a lot of people, because I do a lot of coaching in the the online strategy space. I teach a lot of people about how to build their influence and their following.
Which, by can I just say something real quick? He has such good content. Like, I'm serious. I heard his speech yesterday, and like I'm super tempted to join the Circle of Influence. Like, it's so practical and so real. Me and Ryan were screenshotting. Ryan's my best friend. Me and him were screenshotting every single slide. Like, oh, this is so good. Like, it was gold. So just gotta throw that in.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, that's what it's about. It's giving people strategies they can walk away with, and not just like the talk, right? It's the emotional experience, what they feel, and also the strategy and the steps, right? This is what I tell a lot of people in my circle of influence is that, your social media followers, you have 1 million social media followers, doesn't mean you have $1 million. Right? It's the 100 or the 1,000 or the 10,000 people that are loyal, that are ready to go, and they go in on that, and you give them massive value for an exchange of money. That's how our world works, right? And so many people are focusing on the followers. I got friends with 2 million, 3 million, 5 million follower account. They are like next to broke. They really are. And it's like, so what are you doing for it? It's like, oh, they want significance. And I always ask, what do you want beyond that? I have people that say, hey, Joel, I'm trying to get 1,000 likes on my pictures. I'm like, why?
Why?
I ask them why, and then they tell me, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have 100 likes on one picture and have 50 people buy my book or join my course or go to my event that I can actually meet them in the physical and connect with them.
Impact them a deeper level.
Yeah. So I think there's a conversation needs to be changed in the online space as to like what is more important. It's like what comes after the likes. What's after that, right?
I love that. I think way too many people focus on the followers rather than the following. Like they've like I have 10,000 followers. How many of those people like would die for you? Like how many of those people love you? How many of those people are watching your stuff every single day? Are those like hungry, buying, ready to buy whatever you put out there, ready to go to every event, ready to Snapchat you, all this stuff? Who are those people? And that's what really matters. Like people say, I define my life on how many people show up to my funeral. I don't define my life on how many people show up to my funeral. I define my life on how many people cry at my funeral. Because people are going to show up to your funeral. Like it's going to happen, that they're going to eat, then they're going to have fun. But who's moved to tears by your life? That's what really matters, and that's the depth rather than width that you were talking about.
Yes.
So I absolutely love that.
Amen. Amen to that. So Caleb, you have been able to acquire hundreds of thousands of dollars at the age of 14 years old. You're probably making money even before 14, like 13, 12, right? Could you lay out maybe like, I know that you said that you believe in the law of attraction, and I do too, and law of intention, law of action, which is, I think that's even more appropriate. Yes. But if you could really break down, think about like how you made the money, maybe some of the processes, maybe some things where like you were trying to make it in a certain way, but then you realized you had a breakthrough moment, you're like, oh, we were doing this wrong, we can do it even better now. What are maybe like 3 keys or 3 laws of attraction principles that a young entrepreneur can apply to make hundreds of thousands of dollars?
So are you saying like kind of the processes I went through? You want like the principles I used?
Like the 3 principles, principles. Like kind of like some strategy steps, like the foundational strategy steps on what they can maybe implement now into their business. Like one of the things that I found, and I'm going to just share this with you, is application processes for people to come into my mastermind. Right? It's more exclusive. People are like, oh, you have to apply for it. You get higher quality people that want to come in, and I get to actually really pre-qualify and work them out instead of just going, buy my course, and then, it's like everyone's doing that, right? So that was one of the things I was like, wow, that really elevated everything in my business. So maybe like a few things like that you found in the process. It might be like picking up the phone and actually making sales calls instead of just trying to promote on Facebook. Like three, I guess, law of attraction principles that you can share for young entrepreneurs to make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I mean, there's multiple things that, I've done wrong. That's the first thing I'll say. Like I've done stuff where I wasted an entire day of my time because it was like the wrong thing to either sell this, that. So like I've done a bunch of things wrong, but I think, some of the, at least the practical stuff that has like worked for my business is obviously like a webinar. Like I love doing webinars like that, but that's kind of just for the speakers and stuff like that. But literally like webinars have been such a big thing for me, getting into the funnel, then watching a webinar, giving so much value, and then selling to them at the end. That's been really huge. I think a really, really big thing for me as far as making the $100,000 is probably selling something at a high ticket. Yeah. Because we whenever we started off, we were selling stuff for like, we had a $20 a month product, and then that was kind of like it. Like that was all we were doing. So we were like, okay, we have to get like 10,000 people in this to be breaking even and making $100,000, right, a month. Yeah. And that was great, and we'll, eventually we'll reach that. But then we started selling stuff for like $10,000 and stuff of that nature. I think that's been really big. And one thing that I could pretty much recommend for almost every business. Now there's definitely exceptions, but pretty much every business out there could double their prices right now, and that would like double their profits, right? So I mean, people they're just like, oh, that's too much. Like, price is a myth. If you provide enough value, it's like Grant Cardone says, right? Grant says, if you can be the highest price and then still be the lowest price at the same time. Because you can be such a high price, but you provide so much value that they can't afford to go to anyone else. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think I love that principle, and that's been something really big. And then, it's
a mindset thing too. You actually, it elevates your belief. When you start seeing people going, oh yeah, I believe it's worth that much, and they buy into it and they go, cool, I'm going to do that, and you're bringing the value, you also increase your own self-belief because you're like, yeah, I am worth that. Because so many people are discounting themselves, devaluing themselves every day.
100%.
Yeah.
I love it.
And the third point, man, what's the third point there?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the third point, I was basically just going to say, obviously social media has been a really big thing for me, providing a lot of value and then sending them through like a funnel. So the third point is really like sign up for ClickFunnels. And I'm obviously saying this because I'm really good friends with Russell Brunson, who owns ClickFunnels. And, but seriously, like since doing ClickFunnels, like there's been moments where we made $40,000 in an hour from the teachings and from the actual like ClickFunnels itself. So just go to clickfunnels.com and check that out. But that's been such a big thing, is setting up lead pages, stuff like that. And I know you have your entire team who do that. So
Yeah, they do the nerdy stuff.
the nerdy stuff, right? The stuff that matters.
We're the creatives.
Yeah.
We like to express and share the
Exactly.
message in the story and put attention into inspiring others and creating breakthroughs. And sometimes you can't do it all, right? We're not Superman.
Yeah, definitely.
Or Supergirl if you're a female.
Supergirl.
Yeah, so awesome stuff.
I mean, a lot of people, that's a huge problem with young entrepreneurs is they try to do everything. I'm a solopreneur. It's the dumbest term out there. Like the dumbest.
Yeah.
You're a solopreneur. Are you kidding me? There's no such thing as a solopreneur. You need to have
Good
a
luck.
team and people around you. You know, even Kevin Harrington, who's one of my mentors and business partners, you know, from Shark Tank, which is America, he literally, his number one piece of advice to me was develop a team.
Yeah.
And since I've started developing a team, that's when it really broke through.
Yep. Same here. I can back that one up for sure. Kevin's a great guy too, man. I love Kevin.
Oh,
He's
he is.
awesome.
I know. Have you done an interview with him yet?
Yes, I have, and we talked about a few different business opportunities, and
Awesome.
he's a great guy, man.
Oh, he's absolutely amazing.
He's all in, and he's
He lives 6 minutes from me, so
Does he?
we hang out all the time. But yeah, he's
Awesome.
absolutely the best.
Yeah, great guy. So check out that podcast as well. If you're listening to this, we've got Kevin Harrington on. He talks about investing money and also building businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses, and how to sell them too. So yeah, he's a top bloke. So Caleb, how can they find you?
I think all across social media, I'm just Caleb Maddox. That's all you have to kind of do. But the number one place to follow me right now is probably Snapchat, which is at Caleb Maddox 13. So CALEBMADDIX 13.
Yeah, awesome. Caleb, I'm going to ask you one last question. I ask everybody at the end of the podcast. If you've been listening to the podcast, so you probably know what that question is. And the question is, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? Parting advice.
By the way, I love that question. You get the best answers from people too, which is cool.
Yes.
So I think what I'd say is this, plain and simple: physical, financial, relational, and spiritual. Every single day, wake up, look at those 4 words, look at those 4 areas of your life, and strive to progress in those areas. Even if technically you didn't have a successful and productive day, did you progress one bit in those areas? Did you hit the gym for physical? Did you make money? Did you do this? Did you do that? I would physical, financial, relational, and spiritual. Marry yourself to that, and that's the key.
Love it. Mate, thank you so much for joining us.
You're the man. Thank you so much. I appreciate the interview.
You're going a long way, dude. You've got my back, all right? Anything you need, you got my support. And if you love the content that Caleb's sharing, please make sure you rate and subscribe to this podcast, and also contact Caleb. Reach out to him. Share his videos, like his content, and support the movement. Awesome.
Subscribe to Addicted to Success. It'll change your life.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Bye.